don't swap poses, yes, when you're when writing. And I said, don't swap or don't change Greenwich meridian to another. If we shall change meridians, then we will study geography with Greenwich meridian, with Moscow meridian, with New York meridian. Then we will have very much paradoxes in geography. So I think that very many paradoxes, if not all, comes from the change of the reference frames. We can take each frame, but it is not good when we change these frames when we are solving a concrete problem. As I said, it was some. So let us look. I and you, we are moving one. We are approaching. Yes. So I have a tube. So and I look at you. You look at me. So when we are approaching, we are far away from one another. Then we are see the light. We have clocks, and the faces of clocks are green. When you are far from me, then I see a blue face of your clocks, and I see that your clocks
run faster.
Yes, run very fast. So it is because the longitudinal, yes, Doppler effect. So when we are at closest approach, then I see a red face, and you say a red face too. Is it so or not? Yes, it is so. If I direct my tube perpendicular to the direction of your movement, it is the same. You will see the same if you will do also. If you will see perpendicular to the movement to my movement. But we can do another. I can look perpendicular, and you can look at an angle to the direction of me. Why? You can say that it is longitudinal Doppler effect, but you can also say that you are moving. I say so. Let us solve the problem only in one system of reference. I say that I am resting, I am at rest in this reference, and you are moving. And when I look at you, then I know that the face of your clock is red. What with you? You can say that you are at rest also. Then you will see red face. But I say we must use only one reference frame. Use please my reference frame, not another. And if you will use this reference, then you shall see I am moving, and I must take in account aberration. If I take in account aberration, then knowing with which speed I am moving, I take my tube and direct it with at an angle V over C, as it is. And then I see blue. face. It is all good. My time is dilating, your time is accelerated. If we change the reference frames, then it will all be controversial.
Otherwise. Upside down.
Otherwise. Now to the twin paradox. With the Bell paradox is the same. Let us examine the so-called Bell's accelerating rockets paradox. We'll consider non-relativistic models of Bell's effect, where likewise the theory of special relativity, the proper distance between two rockets following one another, increases, being accelerated of identical programs. I'll show that Einstein's relative simultaneity doesn't ensure reversibility of the proper distance between the rockets upon their joint return to their initial state. The reversibility is only achieved by the introduction of the preferred reference frame, not necessarily absolute, and by the introduction of the universal time in all inertial reference frames. It is universal time. It is a unique time. I don't know how you can say it. The relativistic Bell's paradox refers to the solution of the following problem. In a certain inertial reference frame K, two identical rockets at rest with absolutely identical engines are considered. A thin, non-stretchable string connects the tail of one rocket to the nose of the another rocket. At a certain moment in time, the engines are simultaneously ignited on identical programs, and the rockets start accelerating, following one another along a straight line on which the string connecting the rockets lies. Due to space homogeneity, the rockets at each moment in time, t, moving with identical acceleration g of t and identical velocity v of t, travel in strict synchronism along the straight line due to mutual synchronism of travel, staying at invariable distance apart in the frame K. The question arises as to what will happen to the string when the rockets continue to accelerate indefinitely long. According to the solution given by Bell, the string will break. This solution is often presented as a paradoxical effect. Bell's solution has been disputed by a number of physicists. At the same time, there is no paradox related to the string break whatsoever. And the discussion confirms that there is often no understanding of the basic effects of the theory of special relativity, even among high-ranked physicists. It is only this lack of understanding that can explain the appearance of a whole series of discussion papers on Bell's paradox in the American Journal of Physics. The source of misunderstanding when discussing the effects related to Lorentz contraction is an attempt to regard it as having purely kinematic nature. So it is like to show that there is no paradox. Let us imagine that we have not two rockets, but only one rocket with an engine. And the other rocket is connected with the first with a thick rope. No, thick rope.
Rope.
Yes, rope. Yes, with a thick rope. Then the first rocket begins to accelerate. Then it has a speed v. It contracts the whole construction. Yes, but in the observer in the rockets, they don't see anything. Nothing is another, all the same. Yes, and the string. So, if it is not a rope, but it is a string, and the rockets are moving synchronously, then they stay at the same distance in this system of reference. And then when we see in the observer in this rocket, they see that the distance between this rocket became more or longer, yes? And the string breaks. The string between the rockets the string between the rockets is present in Bell's problem for better clarity and intrigue. There is nothing strange that the string breaks when the rockets are moving apart in their proper reference frame. The essence of Bell's paradox is not in the break of the string, but in the increase of proper distance between the rockets, resulting in the break. What is the mechanism of the increase of proper distance between the rockets at their acceleration? It is namely on this issue and not on the break of the string that we are going to focus our attention. Let us consider a two-stage modification of Bell's thought experiment. Let us assume that the rockets, having moved apart during the first stage of the thought experiment and finding themselves at rest in the reference frame K prime, after the engines have stopped turn 180 degrees, and then this same rocket's acceleration experiment is repeated under identical initial conditions. To do this, sometime after the turn of the rockets, the engine are started on the same program used for the first stage. Then the rockets at the second stage of the experiment are accelerated to a velocity v within the reference frame K prime. They are slowed down accordingly to zero velocity within the reference frame K. It is clear that following this, each rocket will return to a state of rest within the initial reference frame K. The question consists in the following. What proper distance will separate the rockets after they are stopped within the reference frame K? So, here's to answer this question, let us know that after the stop of both engines, the clocks mounted on the rockets will become misaligned, not synchron, yes, within the inertial reference frame K prime. In order to meet the above mentioned initial conditions, the clocks have to be resynchronized. There is to be synchronized in U using Einstein's method. During the second stage of the experiment on the return of the rockets to the state of rest within the system K, the proper distance between the rockets will not contract to the initial proper distance, but it will again increase twofold, twice, if it was twice before. We assume that the contraction was twofold, double. So this is quite clear because the inertial systems K and K prime are equal, and the acceleration results within them should be identical. And what will happen if we do not resynchronize the clocks? If the clocks are not resynchronized and the engines are started under different initial conditions, there is, according to the running within the reference frame K prime non-resynchronized clocks, then the rockets, upon their return to a state of rest within the reference frame K, will stay the initial distance apart. can be verified having examined the acceleration of a pair of rockets, their stop and their slowdown from the reference frame K. In this system, all actions performed by the rockets with missing resynchronization of the clocks will become synchronous, and the distance between them will prove invariable at both stages of the experiment. The proper distance between the rockets, which increased during the first stage, will decrease during the second stage. We can make this experiment more sophisticated if we demand return of the rockets not simply to a state of rest within the initial reference frame K, but to the points within the system K from which the rocket started at the beginning of the experiment. The behavior of each of the rockets in this case is clear. If one of the rockets, rocket A, from point A within the reference frame K is accelerated within this system to a velocity v, and then elapsing some time after the stop of the engine turn 180 degrees, and having started the engine again, slow it down within this same reference frame to zero velocity, then the rocket will return to its initial state of rest within the reference frame K, even though it will find itself in point C, remote from point A. Now, if the rocket is subjected to exactly the same action that were performed with it when moving it from point A to point C on an identical program, but in the opposite direction, then fuel consumption neglected, the rocket will return from point C to point A. It is understood that it will happen only if the hands of the rocket clocks, according to which the program of forward and backward motion is performed, have not been at some moment arbitrarily put to a different time. Moving the clock hands during inertial motion of the rocket within the system K would lead to change in the travel time at different stages of inertial motion, and also to the fact that the rocket would not have returned to point A, but instead it would have arrived at a different point, at point D. We can make this experiment more sophisticated if we demand return. Why? Я этого не говорил?
Говорил.
Нет? So here, yes? Rocket B would behave in just the same way, and should its flight be performed independent of the flight of rocket A. Then, having departed from point B and having completed the program of accelerations, braking and inertial flight of accelerations, braking and inertial flight without touching the ground, it would have returned to point B. Thus, a pair of rockets, each of them having independently with the inside observers not intervening in the movement of the clocks, would return to their initial points. But a pair of rockets, if the start of the engines is performed synchronously with the inertial systems in which they for some time find themselves at rest, will not return to their starting points. Because in order to ensure the synchronism of the clocks, one has to intervene in their initial movement. So, what I want to say is it's clear. I could explain it in Russian in 2 minutes, perhaps, because I don't speak English. So, no, I shall say now. So, if we have 2 rockets, yes, we have 1 rocket, and we have a program. This rocket is in point A. We have a program according to which this rocket flies far away. Then it flies a little, then it comes back. This program is so this rocket comes to this point. In another point, we have another rocket that has the same program that this. These rockets start
Simultaneously.
simultaneous, yes? They start simultaneous. And they fly with the same programs. So, if they don't touch the clocks, they fly far away. Then they come back, and they come to these 2 points. They are back. But if they start, then when they fly, the observer of these rockets think that their clocks run not synchronously, and they might return and they synchronize these clocks in accordance with Einstein. Then they won't come to this point. They will come to another point. It is not reversible. So it is reversible only if we use only one reference system, one and only one, or if this reference system is ether. But this the consideration of this Bell effect does not say that there is ether, but it says that it is more logical to consider this paradox when we use only one reference system. Excuse me, it is enough. Good.
Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, well, the order's still not perfect, so there's no need to ask any questions. I think it's the same point as you made in your previous talk, that you can't change reference systems. Yep. Okay. What I'm going to suggest here is that Anton feels he didn't have enough time for questions, so perhaps he could take 10 minutes for questions.